Ever get that feeling like you want to be in the know about art? You know, like when people are talking about like big names, you want to be able to jump in and get it without like having to go to art school for years.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we all feel that sometimes, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing today. We're taking this list of 10 most popular artists throughout history. It's from 10 most today, and we're kind of using it as a jumping off point, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a cheat sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are these names always coming up?
Yeah.
And what is it about their art that is so important?
Right. And the cool thing is we're going to do it based on what this article says. So, like, we're not just pulling stuff out of thin air.
Exactly.
We're, like, really digging into what they say.
Okay, so first up, probably the most famous artist of all time, Leonardo da Vinci,
Da Vinci. Yeah.
the Renaissance man.
Yeah.
The article calls him a key figure of the Renaissance, which, like, obviously.
Right.
And I mean, the Mona Lisa, everyone knows the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, Mona Lisa is like
The quintessential artwork.
the poster child for art history.
But he wasn't just a painter. He was also like an inventor and a scientist.
Yeah, true Renaissance man, like you said.
Yeah. And so the article mentions like how he was doing all these drawings of the human body, and then it actually like influenced modern technology,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty crazy to think about.
It is pretty wild when you think about it. Like his curiosity, I mean, that's what drove him in both art and science. And you can really see that connection in his anatomical studies.
Yeah.
Like he was dissecting bodies
Oh, yeah.
to understand how muscles and bones worked. And then he used that knowledge to make his paintings like super realistic.
Yeah.
Like really I mean, Lady with an Ermine, The Last Supper, which are also mentioned in the article. You can just see how he's using that knowledge.
It makes you wonder, like,
Yeah.
did he see the world differently? Because he was also a scientist.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And the article even says, like, we might not even fully understand his work today. Like, there's still so much to discover.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so moving on to another Renaissance giant, Michelangelo.
Oh, yeah, Michelangelo, another big one.
I mean, when you think of the Sistine Chapel,
The ceiling.
just the sheer scale of that,
It's just mind-blowing.
it's incredible.
Like, how did he even do that?
Right, but he wasn't just a painter like Da Vinci. He was also a poet, an architect, a sculptor.
He was like a creative powerhouse, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how he had time to sleep.
Yeah, seriously. So the article mentions St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the sculptures, David and Pieta, his designs for the Laurentian Library in Florence.
And you can see that same level of mastery in all of them.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the emotions he captures in the marble sculptures
Right.
or like the grandeur of the basilica. It's just incredible. And then you think about the fact that like 20 years after the Sistine Chapel ceiling, he goes back and paints the Last Judgment. Like
Yeah.
he just never stopped creating.
So we've had two Renaissance masters now.
Yeah.
Let's jump ahead a few centuries to Vincent van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
So the article is pretty upfront about his struggles with mental health,
Right. Yeah, the article doesn't shy away from that.
which you can't really separate from his story, I guess.
I think that's part of what makes his work so powerful.
Yeah, and despite that, or maybe because of it, I don't know, his work is just so beloved.
It is, yeah. And I think people are really drawn to his style, too.
Yeah, those thick brush strokes and the bright colors.
Yeah, that thick paint, it's called impasto.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he wasn't afraid to use like really vibrant, almost unrealistic colors.
Right.
And that was pretty groundbreaking for the time.
So the article lists some of his most famous paintings: Cafe Terrace at Night, Sunflowers, and of course, Starry Night.
Yeah, those are the ones that everyone knows and loves. I think there's something about his work that's just so immediate.
Yeah,
You can almost feel the energy
Yeah.
and the emotion coming off the canvas.
and the emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we come to Pablo Picasso, who the article calls simply a genius.
Right, Spanish, Cubist, modern painter, genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, they throw a lot of labels on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves it.
Right.
Like, he completely changed how we see art.
Yeah, with cubism and collage.
Yeah. Like, before Picasso, art was all about trying to make things look realistic, you know, like a photograph.
Right.
But Picasso, he was like, no, we can break things down. We can show multiple perspectives at once.
Right.
And that's what Cubism's all about.
And then he starts sticking real stuff onto his paintings with collage.
Yeah, he was using newspaper and wallpaper and all sorts of materials.
It's like he was making a statement.
He was saying that anything can be art.
And he was a huge influence on 20th century art.
Yeah, huge influence. Like, so many artists were inspired by him.
Okay, so next up we have Rembrandt.
Rembrandt.
Yeah, one of the greats.
Yeah, one of the best.
The article talks about how he was able to capture this vivid reality in his paintings, but also like the inner feelings of his subjects.
Yeah. Yeah, like he could paint a portrait and you wouldn't just see what the person looked like, you'd see like what they were thinking and feeling.
Yeah, through their facial expressions and the way he used light.
Yeah, he was a master of light and shadow.
Right.
Like he could use it to create mood and drama and to highlight certain details.
The article mentions Doctors Nicholas Tulp's demonstration of the anatomy of the arm and The Night Watch as two of his masterpieces.
Yeah, the Night Watch is like iconic. It's huge. It's in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to see it in person, it's really something else.
So Rembrandt was all about capturing those inner feelings. And now we come to Claude Monet, who was obsessed with capturing the fleeting effects of light.
Yeah, Monet was all about light and atmosphere. He was a key figure in French Impressionism.
Right. And the article talks about how he was trying to capture like the changing seasons and how light plays on landscapes.
Yeah, he was fascinated by how light changes throughout the day and how it affects how we see things.
And he did that with these like broken brush strokes.
Yeah, loose brush strokes, lots of color, like little dabs of paint.
And it created this sense of movement and, like you said, atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And he would paint the same scene over and over again at different times of day.
Really?
Yeah, like to capture how the light changed.
Wow. So the article lists Impression Sunrise, Women in the Garden, and Water Lilies as some of his most famous works.
Yeah, Impression Sunrise is actually where the term Impressionism comes from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a pretty important painting.
I've actually seen the Water Lilies in person.
Oh, really?
They're at the Musée de l'Orangerie in Paris.
Yeah.
It's a whole room filled with these huge water lily paintings. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you really feel like you're in the garden with him.
Yeah, exactly.
You can almost smell the water.
Okay, so from the subtle beauty of Monet's water lilies, we go to something completely different. Salvador Dali.
Dali, yeah, he was a character.
The article says he was famous for his outlandish appearance, particularly his bizarre mustache.
Oh, yeah, that mustache was legendary.
And his art, which is pretty out there too.
Yeah, he's the most odd of all the artists, according to the article.
Yeah, and he was really into surrealism.
Yeah, surrealism was all about exploring the subconscious mind and dreams.
So the article mentions melting clocks and eerie landscapes as being like classic Dali imagery.
Yeah, that's what he's known for, like those melting clocks. They're in a painting called The Persistence of Memory.
Okay, so from dreamscapes to something a little more anxiety-inducing, Edvard Munch.
Munch, yeah.
I mean, the Scream is probably one of the most iconic images in art history.
Yeah, it is.
It's just so full of like fear and anxiety.
Yeah, the article even compares it to the anxiety of Mona Lisa.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, like they're both these really famous paintings, but they evoke totally different emotions.
Right.
The Mona Lisa is calm and mysterious, but the Scream is just pure terror.
So Munch was a big part of the Expressionist movement, which was all about expressing those inner feelings.
Right, and his work influenced a lot of other artists like Erich Heckel, Egon Schiele, and Max Beckmann.
And you could definitely see that influence.
Yeah, like that same intensity and rawness.
Okay, so from the raw emotion of Munch to something a little more serene, Jan Vermeer.
Vermeer, yeah.
The article describes him as a really important figure in art history.
Yeah, he was a master of light and composition.
And his paintings are often of these like everyday scenes, but they're so beautiful.
Yeah, he could take like a simple scene of a woman pouring milk and make it look like something extraordinary.
The article mentions the milkmaid view of Delft and the girl with a pearl earring as some of his famous works.
Yeah, Girl with a Pearl Earring is like super famous.
And there's this ongoing debate about whether he used a camera obscura to help him paint.
Yeah, camera obscura is basically like a pinhole camera. It projects an image onto a surface.
And some people think he used that to get those like hyper-realistic details in his paintings.
Yeah, it would explain how he got the light and perspective so accurate.
Interesting.
It is. Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery.
Okay, and last but not least, Frida Kahlo.
Kahlo, yeah.
A Mexican artist. The article describes her as a master of paint and canvas and also an icon of the feminist movement.
Yeah, she was a powerful figure.
And her art was very personal and very powerful.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid to show her pain and her struggles.
The article mentions how she portrayed the grim reality in general life.
Yeah, like she didn't shy away from the difficult stuff.
And she was known for her self-portraits, which were often very raw and unflinching.
Yeah, she would paint herself with all her flaws and imperfections.
Which is really brave, I think.
It is, yeah, and it really resonated with people.
So looking back at all these artists, it's clear that they all had something special that made them so popular and influential.
Yeah, they were all incredibly talented.
But they also weren't afraid to experiment and push boundaries.
Yeah, they were innovators. They were visionaries.
And they all created these works of art that have stood the test of time.
Yeah, their work still speaks to us today.
So as you think about these 10 artists whose work really speaks to you, and why do you think it continues to resonate with so many people?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
It is, yeah. And I think it's worth taking the time to really delve into their work and their stories.
Yeah,
You never know what you might discover.
absolutely.